Welcome to LiveDaf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem, welcome back to today's Daf Yomi, Meseches TEMURAH Daf Lamed Aleph. We begin right on top on the first line, Vlad Treifa B'chulu. So this is back to the Mishnah. Rabbi Eliezer teaches us that the offspring of a treifa animal, just as the mother is unfit for a korban, likewise the offspring. Chacham say it's allowed. Now, yesterday at the end of the daf, we discussed the factors at play with respect to the same achleikus between Rabbi Eliezer and Chachamim regarding the status of a vlad, of a mother animal that became unfit for other reasons. Now we'll discuss the basis for the machlekes pertaining to a vlad of a treifa. Says the Gemara as follows. There's a well-known machlekes back in Meseches Chulin, whether a treifa mother animal can conceive and give birth or not. Some say yes, some say because of her weakened state of health, she has no ability to do that. Now we're going to present the machlekes with respect to both mindsets. According to the opinion, treifa can conceive and give birth. According to that, the machlekes can be explained like this: So machlekes here is speaking that she had experienced the treifa status before becoming expectant. So she got this internal injury, and then she becomes expectant. And what's the machlekes about? True, the mother animal is unfit. The mother animal is usher for korban, but the father animal contributed to the development of this offspring is okay. That's your classic zeh, right? You have on one side a cause of isser, vizeh, on the other side a cause of heter, goyim, both converging to bring about a joint product. Can we ignore the isser or not? Well, machlekes is exactly about that. The Rabbi Eliezer Savar, zev is a goyim is also. You have to reckon with the mother animal, which is a treifa. Rabbanan Savar, zev is a goyim is mutter. Just ignore that and focus on the father. And likewise, the blood is mutter. Now, l'madam treifa eina, yoyledes or eina chaya. If you hold that a treifa doesn't have the ability to produce another generation, so must be speaking. The animal was already carrying when it became a treifa. And machlekes relates to a different point. Shall we say that the treifa status, which descended upon the mother, affected the offspring inside as well, because it's one and the same entity, or not? Ubag pligi. Machlekes revolves around that famous question. Rabbi Eliezer Savar, Uba yerach imoihu. The uber is considered part and parcel of the mother's body, inseparable, and in fact affected by the mother's deficiency. According to Chacham, you can separate the uber from the mother. True, the mother became a treifa, but it does not affect the uber. Amar Rav Huna, although Chachamim allow it in this case because it's an animal, but Maidim Chacham, Rabbi Eliezer, Chacham would agree to Rabbi Eliezer that it's asur in the following case by a bird. Be'afreyach beitzas treifa she'asur. You have a bird which is a treifa, laid an egg, and the chick that's produced through that egg is certainly tainted. It certainly has its treifa status intact. In this case, you cannot give it its own identity separate from the mother animal, mother bird. My time, you know why? They only disagree with Rabbi Eliezer by the offspring of Behema. There we can treat the vlad separate from the mother. You know why? It grows off the air. Rashi explains. There's two pshatim. The first pshat, he says that the vlad of an animal is not so integrated with the mother, body of the mother, like an egg is. An egg is totally embedded inside. He calls it the eshka, the whole system that produces. It sort of inherent with the mother's body, as opposed to a vlad, although it's encased in the mother, but it develops as a separate entity. Another pshat says that a vlad grows and grows even after birth. Ikar gidulei eina mi'imoi. Its primary growth is not from the mother, as opposed to the egg, which doesn't grow once it's laid. The egg stays the same. So clearly the egg is considered more an integral part of the mother than the vlad is part of the mother animal. So yeah, by the animal, a vlad is considered separate. But the base of a treifa, which is getting its livelihood, it's getting its sustenance, its growth from the goof of the tarnago of the mother bird. By the way, Gemara calls it tarnagolas, but we're talking about a carbon. Has to be a term, a specific birds. It's just an expression. Basically, it's integrated with the mother bird, and you can't separate the two. In which case, if the Rabbanan would agree, the mother's a treifa for the, so is the egg, and so is the chick. I'll even prove to you that you're correct. Tanya the Messiah, we have a brisa in support of what you're saying. There's something which emanates, a byproduct of the flesh of the actual is considered part and parcel of the original entity. You can't separate. We know that a mace is metame. Likewise, a tarva, a large spoonful of decomposure, is also, and worms also metame. Discussed in Mesachas Oles. What about this type of material coming from a live person whose flesh has decayed and produced these worms? Is it considered Evim Menachai? I mean, they're worms, but they're growing out of his skin and flesh. Rabbi Lezer Matame, he says, yes, it's like part of the bus of the person. V'cham Betar, they say, no, it's considered a separate, worm is a separate entity. Ad kan lo pligel Rabbanan lei. So we can understand that Rabbanan is only taking their position and disagreeing with Rabbi Lezer. El Barima, only in this specific case where it's worms, the Pirsha Ba'alma, which are like separate entities from the original flesh. Al Beitza, but by an egg, laid by a bird. The Miguf and Tarnagolas, which is coming from the actual body of a Tarnagolas. Afilu Rabbanan Moedu. It's not a separate entity. It's an expression of a Tarnagolas. In which case, you can't separate the status. Omali Abai Adarab says, Abai, just the opposite. If anything, if Chamistavra, it makes sense to go exactly the other way. Ad kan lai palig, Rabbi Lazar alay the Rabbanan. Ela berima, dikri adam mechaim rima. Just the opposite. You know why Rabbi Lazar considers the worms as though it's the flesh of the person? Because the ikri adam mechaim rima. Because every person is related to in this fashion, in this way, he's called Rima, because that's the destiny of his flesh. T'chsiv v'tikvas ereish Rima v'radam taleya. What's the destiny? What's the destination of a person's guf? The neshama goes to Shemayim forever, but the guf down there with the worms, right? So it's going to be transformed to worms. So that's certainly interchangeable. The flesh and the worms are related to each other. But in our case, where you have an egg laid by a treifa bird, which then turns around and produces its own bird, comes out of this, this egg. It's already disconnected from the mother bird. You know why? Because before it turns into a new chick, it spoils. It goes through a transformation period where it sort of disengages from its former status, its former identity. When, at what point does that egg produce that new chick, that new bird? When it's spoils, and when it spoils, it's a piece of dirt. It has no value, has no status. I think the Rebbe Lezer, so in this case, just the opposite. Even Rebbe Lezer would agree. It's disengaged from the mother bird, and it's unaffected by her status. Furthermore, we have a clear brisa behead. That by an egg, it's actually mutter. So he says, you're right. So Rabbi says, Tabayi, Tanya. If you found a brisa like that, okay, I pick my hands up. So the initial thinking was that although Chachamim take issue and are mated of a lot of a treifa because it's a separate entity from the mother animal, but by an egg it's so part and parcel inherent with the mother bird. If anything, it's worse. Just the opposite. We conclude, true, initially the egg is an expression of the mother, a much closer expression to the mother of the mother than the vladas of the animal. But ultimately it goes through that transformative period, which now disengages from the original source, in which case the final product is mutter. Rabbi Chanina Antigna Shera. He has a chiddush. He says you have a healthy animal nursing from a treif animal, it becomes a treif. My time, why? Is it because that it got fed and fattened from the isser? If that's the case, so whenever you feed an animal isser material, it becomes aser. Feed an animal, avidazara, beans, it's aser. And actually, we had a gemara earlier that test that it's the opposite. Once they start feeding it, the feed, it shows that it's meant for private use. Even though the feeding of it, apparently the food intake does not. It gets digested, it becomes absorbed, it loses its identity. So why is this different? Elotani Rabbi Chanina Trita, he explained Kamei before the Rabbi Yechanan. He says, you're right, an occasional nursing from a treifa wouldn't affect her. Likewise, eating, forbidden materials occasionally would not affect her status. But if her primary sustenance on an ongoing basis was Isser material, it does affect her status according to the Shita. We're talking that she nursed from the treifa. Sheinika, the treifa nursed, Ikshera, Chalav Reseach, boiling hot milk, meaning fresh milk, every morning, every morning, on which you can technically survive, even without adding any more food throughout the day. She can live off it until the next day. In this case, since her primary sustenance was Isra material, it makes her Asra as well, puzzle for a carbon. One last halacha in the Mishnah. You have a carbon that became a treifa. It's unfit for consumption. So you can't just redeem it and send it to the dogs. How do I know? The pasuk in relation to Psula Mikdashim says you can shecht it and eat it, enjoy it. The pasuk reads, Tizbach v'chalta basar. We learn something from every word in the pasuk. Tizbach means leigiza. You can enjoy the meat, but don't share the wool. Right? So before shechita, you can't go share it. It's meant for eating only. V'chalta means enjoy it. V'lo klavech, not for your dogs. Basar means v'lo chalav, you can't milk it. Mikan shein poidim esakotchem la'achilon l'klav. We learn from here, you can't redeem the karbanis to feed it to the dogs. Now what about feeding it to a guy? Yeah, but it has to be fit for my consumption. Then I can sell it to a guy, I can feed. But if it's not fit for my personal consumption, that's called poidim la'achilon l'klav. There's another version, another opposing view that allows pidyon l'klav, because this view learns the brisa, the pasuk a bit different, which doesn't give him that restriction. Tizbach v'chalta, so go say that Tizbach v'chalta, We learn you can only access it after shechita. You can't share it, you can't milk it, which is so far very similar, but according to this approach, we don't dwell on the word v'ochalta to teach us leil klavecha. Hence, kasavar, the Brisa holds that you could, since we have no source to forbid, so we learn kasavar poitin esakachim achil nikol han l'chlasr. Okay, begin brand new parak, 7th parak, which begins with a Mishnah that will match up and compare. Your carbon mizbeach for the Beis Hamikdash, versus an animal designated for bedek habayis. So there are two tracks of hegdish, right? Hegdish mizbeach, hegdish bedek habayis. One is meant for the mizbeach, one is meant for the treasury. So yesh b'kachim mizbeach, there are some things that apply to kachim mizbeach that do not apply to the other. Shem b'kachim bedek habayis. And vice versa, we have some elements, perhaps elements of strictnesses, which we don't find in Kosher Mizbeach. Okay, Kosher Mizbeach is in TEMURAH. What elements do we find exclusive to Kosher Mizbeach? A carbon makes it TEMURAH, but not so Bedek Habayis. For Kosher Bedek Habayis, an animal donated to Bedek Habayis can make it TEMURAH. Anyways, in TEMURAH, like we learned back in Afyud Gimel. Next, Kosher Mizbeach has pigul, noisar, tummy, right? All these things that relate to the akrava. Kosher mizbeach hayav nelav mishum pigul noisar tummy. We turn tummy's base, right? So pigul is where the kayin diverted in his intention, at the point of the akrava that I'm going to be makrava to eat it next week. Noisar is where the basar was left over past the expiry time. Tummy, that person's eating it when he's tummy. So all these things apply to only the kosher mizbeach. Vladan v'chalavan aslacha b'dyayin. That we just learned a minute ago. Even after you paid it, you're still not meant to milk this animal. And so that's chalavan. And vladan, that's a tricky halacha. Rashi brings its whole sugi back in Bechayros, talking that it got expectant before it was redeemed, and then gave birth afterwards. There's no real recourse for this vlad because he can't be makravid because he's coming from a rejected mother, a very unfit mother. He can't redeem it. He's not strong enough to make a pidyon. So it's sort of in limbo, and you can't do anything with it. So these things are also even lacha b'dyayin. V'ashoichtan b'chutz chayiv. Now, if you have a carbon, and before the pidyon he took it and shechted it outside the mikdash, he's chayiv on account of shchutei chutz. Ein noisnen mehen lo'omen mischaron. You can't use these animals as pay for wages in the Beis Hamikdash for workers. Ma she'enkein b'kosher bedek habayis. All these things do not apply to kosher bedek habayis. You can use that for wages, etc., etc. On the other hand, yesh b'kosher bedek habayis, there is something found by bedek habayis unfound by mizbeach. Shestamik deishes bedek habayis. A person's magdash without specifying. Magdash, it doesn't specify to which destination. The assumption is it's going to bedek habayis. What else? Hegdish bedek habayis has a broader reach. You can be magdash anything pretty much, a car, right? Anything. Hegdish bedek habayis chalal hakol, as opposed to kosher mizbeach is only for something fit on the mizbeach. Likewise, let's say something grows out of the kosher bedek habayis. Vlad is produced. Branches on the tree. So there's milah on that too. The item is now hegdish property. Anything that comes out of it is an extension of that original item. It's considered hegdish, full-fledged hegdish. You divert it for personal use as milah. And there's nothing in it for the owner. There's a gersa l'kayhanim. Nobody takes anything from bedek habayis. It totally belongs to hegdish, as opposed to karbanis, where part of it will go to the owner to eat, part to the kayhanim. Ask the Gemara, uklalahu, is that really an absolute rule? That what? The chol kosher mizbeach oisen TEMURAH, that every carbon can make it TEMURAH. Very oifes. What about birds? A bird carbon, the kosher mizbeach hein, although it is a carbon for mizbeach, but there's no TEMURAH generated by a bird. Or it's not. In fact, we had a Mishnah. Ha-manachas v'oif ein oisen TEMURAH. Well, kiktani, the Mishnah is talking about animals, a behemoth. Okay. Next question already. Vlad kosher mizbeachu. So what about the velad of a carbon? It's kachim mizbeachu, and there's no temurah off a velad. The offspring of a carbon cannot generate a temurah. Utanan ein velad is a temurah. The answer is Hamar Rabbi Yehuda. We are going like Rabbi Yehuda the Amar velad is a temurah. Next question. Hari temurah. What about a temurah itself? Hari temurah atzma. So you had a carbon, you generated a temurah. Now this temurah cannot make another temurah. The kachim mizbeach, although it is kachim mizbeach, Utanan we have a Mishnah. Ain't temurah. An existing temurah cannot generate another one. Ois temurah. Well, kiktana eker zivcha. The Mishnah is talking about the original carbon. We're talking about the temurah. We're talking about the original carbon. Every original carbon can make a temurah. Oh, now that you've discovered this angle, that in fact the Mishnah is referring to original only, that could answer the other question too, regarding the vlad. That's not the original. So regarding the question about the vlad, we can be following the Rabbanan who say vlad cannot make it temurah. It's not going to be a contradiction because we're not talking about Kiktani Eker Zivcha. The Mishnah is only talking about the original. But the vlad is not the original. Of course it can't make it temurah. We do not use kachim mizbeach for to pay wages. Kachim mizbeach bedek habayis noisnin. But bedek habayis material can be offered as salary pay. Minan, how do we know? Amar Rabbi Avoda Makra. Pasuk says v'asur le'migdash v'shachante b'seicha. We learn li means mishali. You can even use my. Hashem says my materials, my money, my hegdash money to pay their wages. Yesh b'kachim bedek habayis. Amar. Okay, so we learn in the Mishnah that stam hegdash is the bedek habayis. Your unspecified hegdash is directed to bedek habayis. It applies to any material. Mantana. So who is the opinion that when a person takes an animal and says hegdish, it's going to be sent to bedek habayis? Unlike Rabbi Yeshua, who holds that no, who says tam hegdish is bedek habayis? Maybe it goes to the mizbech, the sanya or the snani of Mishnah, which we learned a few days ago as well already. Amagdish nachas. Okay, so a fellow gives away all his assets without specifying where to. Is it bedek habayis? Is it mizbech? And what do we find in his possession? We find some animals, ru'uya, l'gav mizbech, fit for the mizbech, unblemished. We have zacharim, which are fit for a carbon oila, and a keves fit for a carbon shlam. What do we do with them? He holds stam hegdish is bedek habayis, as per our Mishnah. And therefore he says, zacharim yimachru l'tzarchei oilos. So the animals, since they are fit for carbon, ultimately we have to get them to the mizbeach. Although his intent was bedek habayis, what do? We buy, we sell it. We find an oila customer, a fellow needs a carbon oil, we sell it to him. Ultimately, landing the animal in the mizbeach as a carbon, but the money will be sent to bedek habayis. Zacharim yimachru l'tzarchei oilos, and the nekevos yimachru will be sold l'tzarchei shlamim to those who need a shlamim. And their monies, udmei and yiplum shanachasim, we join with the other assets, lebedek habayis. Why? Well, as a whole, stam hegdish is lebedek habayis. So that works with our Mishnah. Rabbi Shua disagrees. Rabbi Shua Aimer, he says no. We assume that he wants it on the mizbeach. Zacharim heinas minikru oilos. Take the actual zacharim as oilos on the mizbeach. Unekevis yimachru tzachir shlamim b'yovid mein oilos. Likewise, in the kevis, even though you can't bring them as oilos, you sell them to shlamim customers and use the money to buy an oila. That's the highest carbon. Shanachasam bedek habayis. The other monies, the other assets, bedek habayis. So clearly, according to Yeshua, a person takes a behema as magdashit without specifying to where. He means to the mizbeach. Unlike our Mishnah. Upliga de Rab Ada bar Ava. Now, this presentation from Rabbi Yechanan, that the halach of stam hegdish bedek habayis discussed in our Mishnah follows only Rabbi Lezer, not Rabbi Shua. Because only Rabbi Lezer holds that it is so, is in disagreement with a different approach to the machlekes. Upliga de Rab Ada bar Ava, who will learn that even according to Rabbi Eliezer, stam hegdish is not to Bedek Habayis. You should know, this whole discussion between Lezer and Rishua regarding the fellow who gave away his assets, it really depends. Depends what happened. If the herd is full of males only, the Lezer would agree, it goes to Mizbeach directly. A person would not forego the opportunity to realize a kosher Mizbeach, to bring his animals to the Mizbeach itself. Kosher Mizbeach and divert it to the Bedek Habayis. Meaning just the opposite. Even Rabbi Lezer would agree, we assume it's Mizbeach. So why do we have a machlekes? It's only when it's not straightforward. Ella be'eda, we have a herd, sheish by mechz zachar, mechz nekevus. It's 50% zachar, it's a mix of nekevus and zachar. That triggers the machlekes. Rabbi Lezer savar ein chelekas nidru. Rabbi Lezer holds, although typically we would assume that he meant for the mizbeach. But in this case, since it's not all directly in the mizbeach anyways, since the nekevus can't be brought directly in the mizbeach as oilos, we assume the zchar as well. Rather, you sell them both, and money goes to Bedek Habayis. The person wouldn't, split his donation. He has one thing in mind, one destiny, So if it can't be fully mizbeach, then it's fully Bedek Habayis. Rabbi Shua Savar, some and some, he had both in mind. Rabbi Shua Savar Chaylakas Nidra, a person perhaps, right? We assume a person would split up his donation. So even though he didn't specify, but we understand that he wants the ideal, the ultimate, and whatever can end up on the Mizbeach, he wants it to be so. And therefore, the Zacharim go on the Mizbeach directly, the Nekevus are sold as Shlomims, and the money used to purchase the carbon oil. So according to this approach, even Rabbi Eliezer in theory would hold Stam Behema is Mizbeach. It's just that here it's different because it's going to end up confusing and making it complex. Lish Nachman Amrila is another version of this presentation. Amar Rad Bar Abba Marav. If the fellow only donated animals, I feel Rabbi Eliezer might, even Rabbi Eliezer would agree that it's meant for the Mizbeach. The Lo Shavik Inish Kosher Mizbeach a person would not forego the opportunity for a carbon on the Mizbeach or Madler Bedek Habayis and do Bedek Habayis instead. So even Eliezer would agree, it's just animals. The Scharim go on the Mizbeach and the Kevis you sell for Shlomims and the money used to buy it. Well, the Machlek is only when you have other assets, vintage 56 Buicks as well, which ultimately will go to Bedek Habayis. So we assume everything was meant for the Bedek Habayis, since he didn't specify, since he didn't differentiate. The Machlek is only we have other assets together with the animals. Rabbi Eliezer also would not split up his donation unless he specifies. So once we know that part of it is going to Bedek Habayis, we assume the entire thing, one package straight to Bedek Habayis. Since the other items are not going to Mizbeach, Behema Nami. Lo L'kachim Mizbeach, the Behema as well. It's all going to Bedek Habayis. Rabbi Shua Savar Adam Chaylakas Nidra. Rabbi Shua says, no, a person, split his donation, whatever can go to Mizbeach, like the Scharim or the Kevois, right? That goes to Mizbeach. And the old cars go to Bedek Habayis. Okay, so again, according to this approach as well, in theory, Rebbe Eliezer agrees that Stam Hegdish is Mizbeach, unless we have indication otherwise. Now, one kash, the Mishnah says, is a Gersa Tanan, right? The Mishnah says, Utmein Yiplu Imshar Nechasim Bedek Habayis. So the monies will end up with the rest of the Nechasim Bedek Habayis. Now, apparently there are other assets that are going to Bedek Habayis. So according to the second Lashon, that we're discussing such a case where there were other assets going to Bedek Habayis, that explains the Lashon of the Mishnah in Diktonia. That explains why the Mishnah speaks about the other, possessions. Imshar Nachas Bedek Habayis, because we're speaking, there were other items to speak of. El Lishna Kama, but according to the first Lashon, that actually we're talking about a fellow who is only Magdash animals. So why are we talking about other items? Listen, Yipul Bedek Habayis. So the Mishnah should just say the money will go to Bedek Habayis instead of talking about other nechasim. There are no other assets. Tniyachi, you're right. We have to switch around the correct lashon as per what you just said. Dmei Yiplu Bedek Habayis. The money will go to Bedek Habayis, and there's no mention of other items because we only have animals to speak of. Okay, so in a nutshell, the Mishnah spoke about Stam Hegdish Bedek Habayis, which we had figured is in line with Rabbi Lezer, but then we had other explanations which sort of turn things around. Then, in fact, Rabbi Lezer himself also holds that Stam Hegdish is the Mizbeach. It's just that when you have Zacharim and the Kevos, it changes, or according to the second lashon, you have other assets, it changes. But typically, Stam Hegdish is the Mizbeach. Unlike our Mishnah, which holds Stam Hegdish Bedek Habayis. What else is unique about Hegdish Bedek Habayis? Chol ala koil, it applies to everything. Let's see, what are you adding on that? Obviously, if you magdish a car, the car is Bedek Habayis. What's the Mishnah trying to add? Amar ben l'suyi shfuyi v'niva. Suppose a person was magdish a tree to Bedek Habayis. So what about the shearings, the wood chips that fall, the leaves? That's also included. It serves as fertilizer. It's also included in the Hegdish package, as opposed to Kachim Mizbeach. Taisus points out. Let's say a person is magdish, a log of wood to put on the the Mizbeach. So let's say there's some wood chips that fall out in the way, whatever. That's not considered part of the Hegdish. Only the actual, the block of wood itself, but not the shearings, the insignificant, spindles or leaves that fall off on the way. That wasn't included in the Hegdish. One more item, something which that grows out of the Hegdish item is also included, and there's meila on that if one diverts it for personal use. And again, that's exclusive to Bedek Habayis. We'll see Mai. Okay, so what are we covering here? Amar Papa Lasuye Chalev HaMugdash. So take out these words. Chalev HaMugdash. An animal that was designated for Bedek Habayis, and the milk from the animal. Ubeit Turn, or the eggs laid by the birds of Bedek Habayis. All these are included to the stanas we have in the Mishnah and Me'ilah. Chalev HaMugdash, Ubeit Turn, Lo Ne'anin, Lo Me'alim. So regarding these items, midrabanan you can't partake in them, but minatorah there's no me'ilah. But medrabanan, when do we say there's no me'ilah? Bekachim Mizbeach, by a carbon. Aval bekachim Bedek Habayis, if it's an animal belonging to Bedek Habayis, and it has milk and it has the egg. Higdish Tarnagolos, Mal Beitzasa. One donates a chicken, the egg is also covered under the me'ilah of the chicken. Chamoira, donkey, Maran Bachal, Bachalava, the milk is also covered under me'ilah, because it's part of the same item. So regarding Kachim Mizbeach, it's all about what's fit for the Mizbeach. But Bedek Habayis, it's all about, value. And whatever it is, it is. Now, even according to the Shita that says, here we go. Even according to the Shita that says that there's me'ilah even on growth from Mizbeach items. That's only limited to a growth which in itself is also fit for Mizbeach. Let's say the vlad of a karba. So since it's fit for hakrova, there's milah aval gedul lechazu lemizbeach, but something which is not fit for Mizbeach, emial behem. There's no milah on that, like the milk and the eggs. But by Bedek Habayis, all is covered. Okay, so we had a Mishnah comparing Mizbeach to Bedek Habayis. Mizbeach makes TEMURAH, there's people nice of a tamei. Shchida b'chutz is chayav. Can't use it as payment for a salary. Bedek Habayis, just the opposite. And also, Hegdish Bedek Habayis is chal on everything. Stam Hegdish Bedek Habayis, milah on the gedulim as well. And it's completely and totally to the treasury. There's nothing in it for the Kohanim. And we learned that the Gedulim is Mila on that only by Bedek HaBayis, as opposed to Mizbeach. But there is a shoot that there is Gedulim, Mila on Gedulim, but the Gemara is more concluded only if it's something which is really Chazui the Mizbeach. All the best to you, Natzlacha.